right, folks, welcome back to It's a Bit. We're joined here with a special guest, Captain Cons with Barstool Sports. He is the co-host of Zero Blog 30 at Barstool. You guys have been doing that over Zoom recently, right? How's that been going? Because we started this in one of our other podcasts over Zoom, and we fucking sucked at it. It was really hard.
Yeah, I mean, that's not something that's been recent either. So the gentleman who really had the idea to start the show, Chaps, my other co-host, he's always been in Texas. So we've always been remote.
Oh.
Even when I was in studio full time, he was still always remote. And from time to time, he would come up every 5 to 6 weeks or so, and sometimes more, sometimes less. And we would do a few interviews or travel and do some interviews. But by and large, the show has always been, I'm in one location, he's in another location. And then when Kate joined the show, so the show's going to be about, the show's almost 5 years old. Kate joined us about 2.5 years ago. She was obviously in person with me, and Chaps was still remote. And now, yes, because of everything that's happened, we've gone to fully remote. Everybody's remote. Who knows when that will change, because now, I'm sorry, I'm like rambling here. This is a really convoluted answer just to say.
Yeah.
The way we do our show. Kate, my other co-host, is 8 months pregnant. She's having a baby in the next 3 or 4 weeks. So she's going to be out for a little bit. We are assuming. I hear having a kid is a little bit of a time suck. So
Yeah.
I don't know that she'll have as much time.
Right?
Yeah, I don't know if she'll have as much time to record. So we'll go back to, I'm one location, Chaps is one location, and our producer Kyle in another location. But we just keep adapting and keep it moving.
But that's the beauty of starting remote, though, is when everyone else had to go remote, you're like, we've already been doing this shit forever. So,
yeah, and I think a lot of shows, we're really fortunate that we have a lot of shows at Barstool that are successful that you can look at for examples on what right looks like. So one example that comes to mind, Spit and Chicklets, those guys have always, with the exception of their two co-hosts, their third co-host has always been remote. So we've had people show us that remote doesn't necessarily mean your show has to suffer. Certainly you have to adjust, and you get used to people's cues and get used to knowing when to speak, when to keep quiet, versus if you're in a room together. It's very much a different dynamic. But yeah, we've figured it out, and I think we're doing okay, and we're going to continue to try to work on it and get better as we go.
You ever run into that situation where that person has like shitty internet and they go out for 30 seconds and you're like, I can't hear you, and then they come back in like, yeah, and that was awesome. Like, I have no idea what you just said.
Does he have good internet at least, being the remote guy?
Yeah, there were definitely times when we would be doing the radio show where that would be an issue, and then there was that whole Texas once in a generation lifetime storm that he just had where he didn't have power. So
yeah,
that was a little bit difficult. But other than that, no, he's a little bit neurotic when it comes to the electronics of everything, the internet speed, the microphone he's using, the headphones he's using. He hears everything. He's got a very sensitive ear. So he's on top of that stuff and does a great job. So we've been fortunate that, I think, at this point, if you didn't know we weren't in the same room, you wouldn't be able to guess it.
Yeah. I actually didn't even know that whole story until you told me. I mean, I know like the difficulties of doing podcasts remote. You're right, like the cues. So many times where people start talking over one another, and it's like, oh, go ahead.
No, you go.
No.
It's like the four-way stop.
Yeah.
So
sign,
bad.
Just, hey,
It's
you go.
such
You
a
go. There you
disaster.
go. You can't gauge that. It's so tough.
Right, and then that just comes down to chemistry, right? You just get to know someone, and Now, that's not to say we're perfect. That still happens to us from time to time, but certainly not. It's not something that happens frequently throughout the episode to where it's annoying. And that just comes from doing hundreds and hundreds of episodes and knowing when someone wants to speak, knowing when someone has a pretty profound opinion on a topic and when you should maybe take a back seat, and vice versa. And again, that just comes with reps. And there's people in the industry who have been doing it much longer than us, who are better than us at it. So we're continuing to get better and improve in each and every time we record.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's a learning experience too. I feel like for a lot of people, well, we just started because we had to start on like Skype or Zoom because didn't have the resources. But like for people that are now that we've like been in like a studio and I go back to it like we had to in November because we had the COVID stuff went around a little bit, and it was just so weird to go back to that, trying to sit on a screen. I'm like, I was so used to being in front of people interacting, and this is so odd. But I mean, you get used to it, but it's just so much better when you're in person.
Yeah, and I mean, when we were in person, at least Kate and I, with our old producer, there was a lot less work on the back end for us to do. We just really had to sit down and speak in addition to the show prep. And there's a few extra steps that we have to do now. But again, I hate to say that this freaking pandemic thing has been going on for as long as it has, but because it's been going on that long, we've been doing it this long, we're just used to it at this point. So, but it looks like you guys got like a whole Wayne's World vibe going over there.
Yep.
Dude, I just Wayne's World.
I never realized that there's the big cutouts. So our faces were at the Twins game. We got loaded and we were in center field, I think. And then there's actually stuff all over the studio. But since we've gotten this place, the show has gotten much better. It's definitely been a good thing for us to be all in person. But once again, having someone like you now on the big screen remote, we've gotten so much better at that too. So it just kind of adds to the experience.
Yeah, and I mean, you're going to have growing pains with that just because every guest is a little different in terms of their cues. So yeah, hopefully your listeners are a little more understanding. I mean, are you guys in somebody's mom's basement or where are you?
No, this is a commercial building.
Despite
all the people that say, "Oh, what is that? Your fucking dad's basement?" No,
it is paid by our daddy. No, we're just joking. No, but that's a joke. But
all funded by us.
Yeah,
it's
nice.
Yeah,
it is kind of weird though because we have like some like insurance companies around us and some more. I mean, they're not here when we're usually here, but then you just see us in this commercial building. And
and people are wondering what you're doing each and every day.
We really don't belong. Yeah,
sure.
That's kind of the beauty of it.
Probably lost the security deposit, but it is what it is. It happens.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Cons, I wanted to kind of talk about you a little bit here. I know that I'm curious too. Like I saw that you're in the Army. You went to West Point and you played football.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm always curious when I see like when the Army Navy game comes up every year. I'm just so curious. What is it like to be in the Army then also playing football? I just feel like that's just like you're doing football workouts and you're doing Army stuff on the outside of that. Is it crazy or like what is that experience like?
Yeah, so I mean during football season it's more akin to you're going to school and playing football at any other school, minus the fact that we actually have to go to class and wear uniforms and follow a bunch of rules. But we're not doing the Army stuff simultaneously is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. All the military and the Army training is done during our summertime. Okay. So I guess that's another big difference is we don't really have summer breaks where we just disappear for months at a time. Our summers are planned out, whether you're voluntarily going to summer school to get ahead so you could take less credits during the semester, or you're traveling somewhere to another Army base to shadow a unit to see what they're doing on a daily basis. Those are very much separate. So in terms of going to football practice, again, that's just like if you are at another school and, you got to go to class and then go to football practice. Definitely, certainly freshmen and sophomores, you're taking more than 20 credits each semester. So it's certainly a heavy workload, and that lightens up a little bit by the time you're a junior and senior, but still, I think you probably still comparatively taking a lot more credits. So it's certainly a challenge. It's not for everybody, the academies and West Point especially, but it certainly makes you appreciate football that much more.
Yeah, I was going to say 100% would not be for me. I don't know how people in the military do it, but I mean, like, is going back to Army, like the Army versus Navy games, what's kind of like the atmosphere on the field? Is the trash talk real? Is it,
or is it more polite? Like they're you're really
a little more PC, or what's the level
There's
of
more
trash
order
talk?
on the field?
No, I think it's it's evolved over the years, many years, the last 10, 20, 30 years. If you just look from a score standpoint, it's kind of gone in ebbs and flows. Back in the 90s, Army kind of had a little bit of a commanding hold on the rivalry. And then, unfortunately, I was there during some very, very rough and lean years up until 2016 when we finally beat them again. And so I think for the years that we were there, we had a healthy rivalry in that we didn't like them, but because they beat us so often, it wasn't like we had much to say. And then, certainly in the last 5 years when Army has won the Commander-in-Chief's trophy, which is awarded to the winner of the 3 academies each year, we've won that 3 of the last 4 years and kind of flipped the script on Navy to where their program's really going in the dumper right now. And Army has enjoyed a resurgence. It kind of, I think, changes how the trash talk occurs. Obviously, I'm not on the field anymore, so I don't know what it's fully like on the field. But I think there's a lot more respect from the Navy side, where I don't know that they fully gave us the amount of respect that they're giving us now, and rightfully so. I mean, we've been very fortunate to have Coach Monken come in and change the culture. So you really revived it and turned it back into what a rivalry is supposed to look like. And that's not one team winning for 10 plus years. Cause that's it's no longer a rivalry. And you see that with some other rivalries across the country where one team has been dominant for a little bit longer than they probably should. And it kind of gets anticlimactic. So right now it's fun to say, oh yeah, we're friends on the field, or we're not friends on the field, but we're friends afterwards. I mean, that sounds nice on TV and all, but
we're all great. Yeah, we're all happy.
I mean, yeah. I know some guys. I'm friendly with some guys from Navy, but I think the biggest rib we'd like to give them is like, with the exception of a very few units, must have been nice the last 2 decades sitting on a boat while we've been doing all the heavy lifting in these wars.
That's the common chirp I've heard.
Yep. So I mean, it's so that's where the whole like, oh, we're on the same team. Yes, technically we're all on the same team, but I'll just say when I was in Iraq, I never served alongside anybody who played at Navy, and that's where I'll leave it.
Well, and at least like there's got to be within the military some respect between Army and Navy, where like Wisconsin and Minnesota, there's not a bit of fucking respect left on the field.
Yeah, I would hear
there.
No, hell no. There's just nothing afterwards.
Yeah, I mean, there's respect that I know they have to go to class just like we have to go to class, but their experiences I don't think is as difficult as the experience West Point. They got very lax, and I won't even bring Air Force into the conversation because Air Force
they're in a whole different league.
They've been in their own league, making things easy for their football players and athletes for a long time. But Navy had done some things to make things easy for their players, and they're just not working anymore. And we've certainly caught up and flipped the script on them.
The Coast Guard doesn't have a team though.
They have a lacrosse team, or
do they? No, the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard Academy has a team.
They do?
A football team?
I think so.
Really?
I have to double check that.
I would have to.
I don't know.
I feel like they would just get shit on the most because
they're not Division I if they are.
Yeah. Okay. That's crazy if they actually
have
a
football
team.
They have a football team.
Do a football team?
Yes. Well, they're Division III.
Division III.
Okay.
Yeah.
That would make sense. Okay.
That would
it's
explain it a little more.
It's kind of like if they start talking shit. It's kind of like the up here in Minnesota when North Dakota State fans try talking shit on U of M Gopher fans. It's like, stop. Just you're in a lower division. Come on.
That's the argument.
Coast Guard's like, oh fuck you.
Yeah,
guys.
I mean, at least the difference between North Dakota and U of M is like 1A, 1AA. Whereas, I would not feel comfortable saying anything to the Coast Guard Academy just because it doesn't compare.
Yeah, exactly. You don't even need to get into it.
No. We're not even gonna give it attention. But
no.
Something I had to bring up. Frequent thing on your Twitter, the peanut butter squeeze packets. How did you get hooked up with that? Because I eat peanut butter daily, and I would probably kill for that.
That was just one of those things where I got lucky, and I saw Skippy tweeting about them. No free ads, but saw him tweeting, so I just tweeted like, "Oh my gosh, these look amazing!" And they just reached out to me, and they were very generous in sending me a care package. Certainly not something I was setting out to do that day, but I'm a huge fan of peanut butter, so
yeah,
I just thought the idea of having a peanut butter that you could just squeeze out of a packet, because I mean, how many people do you know who will go to the jar of peanut butter late at night and just try, grab a spoon, get a scoop for a little scrumptious snack there.
Yep.
So you have this little pack, and it just makes that process that much easier. So really, it's kind of a blessing and a curse because it's so readily available. I'm a little more apt to do it on more occasions than I probably should. Yes.
See, the issue with the jar is you go through knives. I go through so many fucking knives a day because.
Well, that's the other thing. You save
spoons.
yourself the dishwasher.
Yeah.
Putting the stuff in the dishwasher. You just squeeze it right down the old gullet, and you're all set. Yeah.
Although I feel like if I like had a lot of those, especially if I got them for free or something, I feel like I'd be killing my body by eating way too much peanut butter.
Just
like
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
But why not?
Right
Right?
in your mouth. Why not?
I'll get so many of those.
I can't keep buying them for myself. The only way I will keep eating them is if Skippy just decides to keep sending them, which I don't think they plan on doing. So that's probably the best for all parties concerned.
Yeah.
Yes.
I was gonna say if they sent me a pallet though, I wouldn't say no. I'd be like where the hell are we gonna keep
That'd
my
be rude.
apartment?
That would be
I'll figure
rude
out.
to say no, right?
Yeah.
You can't. I would go through that.
You can't say no.
I would go through that shit in a day. It's so bad with peanut butter. I'm the kind of guy though. Like if I'm hungry and I see a snack, I don't have a lot of food around.
It's a late night thing.
Fucking spoon in the peanut butter. It's some people think it's weird, but it's so damn good. And
yeah, because you don't think it doesn't think like. You don't think like you're doing anything too bad. It's like, what's one scoop of peanut butter?
Yeah,
butter.
It's a small surface area.
Yeah, but one scoop every night or one scoop across the course of a day turns into a lot of
protein,
scoops.
man.
It's
protein.
Okay, so you're calling yourself a big peanut butter guy. I am as well. Do you guys buy the large jars because that's how much you go through, like the big ones? Yeah,
those like the biggest ones.
That's
Oh yeah,
the size I buy.
Oh yeah, I can't buy those dinky ones.
No,
like
I'm
gonna be
shit in
I'm
a few
back.
weeks.
I'm back at the grocery store in a day. Like I can't do that shit.
Yeah.
But I always, when you're eating or like you regret it, not so much like right after you eat, but like you've ate so much where you feel like you're almost choking because it's just stuck in your throat.
Yeah, then you have to drink like 6 glasses of water.
It's like, damn
yeah,
it, dude.
And then you go look at yourself in the mirror, and that's when you really fully regret it.
And you're like, I'm a fat bitch.
Yep.
Yeah, I probably shouldn't have done that.
But then 24 hours, you just do it again. Like it just fall out of my mind. Didn't even happen.
Or you get a little drunk and bitch just like snacking.
Maybe more than one scoop.
More than one scoop, and you just do not give a shit.
Yeah.
But I would do
you
this.
justify it. You justify it as protein. You're like, well, there's protein in that, so that's I'm doing
so
a
it's
protein
healthy.
thing.
It's healthy, right?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't get enough protein in the day, so whatever.
Exactly.
I did a little. I walked a little more than I usually do today, so
took the stairs instead of the elevator.
I gotta get some protein in me, so why not just down a shit ton of peanut butter?
Yeah, gonna eat half a jar of peanut butter.
Oh man.
But another thing I had for you too in your Twitter bio, the Irish Catholic way. You ignore your problems until they go away. Does that work? Because I have a lot of problems.
I mean, I don't know that I could say it works or it doesn't work, but it's just the way we've been doing it for so many generations that we might as well just stick with it at this point. You just push those problems far down. No, and I say that tongue in cheek because I think one of the big proponents, or not, not that I think, I know one of the big proponents of Zero Block 30 is getting your mental health right and not being afraid to talk about that and getting the help you might need. And I think it's, I put that in there many years ago when I first got on Twitter, and I've left it in there somewhat as a joke because it's certainly now really the antithesis of what I preach. So it's more like an ode to how the Irish Catholics used to be, and not how I try to live my life now. But it always kind of just brings a smile to my face, just thinking that that's how people of my ilk have done it for so long.
Well, I feel like that's kind of like a I don't know, a stereotype of people. Like I know you're from the East Coast, and I think a lot of people in the Midwest would be like, oh yeah, the East Coast people, you know, they just got to pent everything up and you know, bottle everything up and.
Well, why in the Midwest are you guys really big at sitting around the kitchen table and talking about your feelings? Is that something you guys experienced growing up?
I mean, yeah,
a little bit, yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of people, because your parents are always asking, "How are you doing at school? So what's going on with this?"
They know when you're lying. They totally know when you're lying.
Yeah, they know when you're lying. It's just a very family. They want to know everything that's going on in your life, and all that, and asking, "How are you doing?" And it's.
There you go. That's the
Midwest
difference.
Nice.
Yeah, we're that Midwest nice where everybody out here, where everybody's in such a hurry. It's just head down, doing your own thing, and we don't necessarily always stop and ask those questions of one another. We just assume everyone's dealing with their own stuff, and don't bother anyone, and they won't bother you, and just you figure it out on your own. Which again, not healthy. I'm not advocating for it.
No.
I'm just saying that's the way it goes.
We're not. That's the East Coast way, though.
Right.
It's the East Coast way. Well, we're not saying that even though Midwest nice, Minnesota nice, where we're located, but a lot of the times I notice it can come off very passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like people just they're trying to be like, they're trying to want to be nice or something, but they're
not actually being nice. They're just saying it because they think that's what they have to say. Whereas we skip that step. We don't even pretend like we're going to be nice. We just won't say anything, and we'll just go on our own way.
We always on this show all the time, we bitch about like stupid small talk that like is completely inaccurate. Like when you ask someone how they're doing during a work day, probably not fucking good. I mean, I just did 3 hours of meetings, but you say good, you're like, yeah, I'm great. That's just like a normal thing to respond, even
living
though
the dream.
It's not even
true. Well, because also you don't want the cliches exist for a reason. All those jokes about people in the cubes. Because you don't want to say, oh, well, actually, I'm not doing too well because this, that, and the other. Because then you're going to be forced, because the natural human reaction is, oh, what's wrong? And then you got to give an answer. And the next thing you know, you're 20 minutes in the break room with Susan, who's wanting to know about your whole life. And all you want to do is go get lunch.
Yeah, exactly. But you want to almost say, like, I'm not doing good. But Susan, I don't want to talk about my feelings. I just want to get the lunch.
Yeah, listen, Susan, I have had a horrible day thus far. I'm very stressed out, but there's a tuna melt with my name on it. So please, if you could just let me be.
And frankly, I just don't. Whatever you're talking about, I just don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Sadly, I just don't. I think that's what I would like about the East Coast is like during the day I'm super go, and when people stop and try to be nice, it's hard. It's hard not to be nice back, but. You get in the zone and it's kind of like, okay, just let's not do this right now. I don't have time for that.
Yeah, and well, everyone's afraid to just be very openly honest about that and say, hey, you don't want to do this right now. I don't want to do this right now, so let's just not do it. Because that would be quote unquote rude.
We need a little bit more of East Coast mentality in Minnesota.
Yeah, there's probably somewhere in the middle between the Midwest nice and the East Coast attitude where we could gel and figure out a happy medium.
There's got to be a perfect Nirvana happy medium where we could bring it all together and just have that go attitude, but still be nice.
That's kind of Chicago though, right? You get a little bit of both.
Yeah,
you get a little bit of both there. I mean, you're still considered the Midwest, but still kind of you get that. You kind of get that go type attitude.
I feel like Eastern Wisconsin's like that a little bit. When I've been out
Green
there.
Green
Bay
area?
Well,
that's
Green Bay.
That's a whole other story. That's more of
excluding Green Bay. Let's not
bring thing happening there. So
we don't.
There's a little bit more.
You don't have to bring Green Bay into this at all.
We don't.
No.
Another thing I saw on you that you were known for going to KFC's parties. What were those like in New York City?
Well, those were always just a good time, just because it was. It was the early days, and social media certainly existed, but it didn't exist to the extent it does now, where it felt like, one, there was a pressure if you went somewhere or did anything, you had to tell everybody about it. And two, if you were at a party at a bar, you had to worry that if you, maybe were overserved or, something happened at the party, you didn't have to worry that next thing you know, it's going to be out there everywhere. So, And Kevin had this knack for finding these bars where he would know the owners or become friends with the owners of the bars. And there were always these ridiculous deals. Like there was this one bar called Saloon, and it closed. And it's probably the reason it probably closed is why I'm about to tell you. We would go for March Madness, okay? And you would show up at 12 and you'd pay for a wristband for $40 for unlimited beers for 2 hours. And then every 2 hours after that was just another like $5 or something. I don't remember what the exact numbers were.
So you eventually catch up to what you're paying for, and then
no, not eventually catch up. No. Within like the first hour, you blew past. Right past what it was called.
I suppose
they reel you in
with the prices. Yeah,
yep.
Yeah,
so
you were. It was normally. It was ridiculous
like
how inexpensive it was.
Yeah, because normally drinking in that city has to be just a fortune, right? If you're at certain places, so
very much so. Especially on
sense.
You think about this March Madness. You know the games start at noon and go basically till midnight. So if you're going to drink for 12 hours in Manhattan, that's going to cost you an arm and a leg. But if you drink in Manhattan for 12 hours and it costs you $40, you're like, okay, cool, yeah, sign me up. And then as I got to know Kevin more and more and become actual friends with him, and the years went on, I just got on Kevin's program where it was like, oh, here's your wristband. Like I would just walk in. I didn't have to necessarily go through the whole rigmarole of everybody else. So it was interesting. And those days, I don't know if those days will ever return. They probably won't. But the memories were good while they lasted.
I was going to say, for those of you out there who know where La Crosse, Wisconsin is, they do a similar thing, their College Town wristband night, except it's like $20. It's even more dangerous. And that includes rail drinks and really low-level shots. Like Fireball, you could do shots of just disgusting. But once again, you catch up so fast. And that next thing you know, you're basically drinking for free. It's great. I love the wristband deal.
Mm-hmm. And there was no bartender or bouncer saying, oh, well, look at that person over there. Maybe they've been overserved, or maybe we should cut them off. It was lawlessness. It really, truly was. Because also, it was like a kind of some of these places were dingy isn't the right word, but maybe and they were like a step above a dive bar. So the class of individual, it was really just people who were looking to have a good time. You weren't worried about offending anyone or that somebody was going to think you were acting ridiculous, and that just added to all the lawlessness.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, dude, I was going to say, like, going to those wristband bars, it's just so fucking dangerous.
So dangerous.
It's just so...
But especially around March Madness. That's awesome. They do... I feel like deals are hard to come by during March Madness at certain places, especially in urban places. Like, if we tried to drink in Minneapolis for March Madness, I don't know if we'd find a deal like that.
No, well, see, this kind of remind me. We were in L.A. back in October, and we were there. It was a Sunday, so we were watching football since noon.
Yep.
And then the NBA championship game was on. It was when the Lakers won, and of course we had to sit outside. But whatever, it was a beautiful day. But we were there all day. No, there were no deals, but we were there drinking for probably 10, 11 hours.
Yep.
Our tab was, it was pretty pricey, but. I don't know. I'd say it was worth it.
I mean, I guess depending on what anybody does for a living, so long as you don't make a habit of doing that regularly, you'll be okay. And do it once every blue moon is okay, because inevitably you walk away with some good stories and a lot of laughs. So, as long as you, I guess, do it responsibly is what I'm supposed to say now.
What's your honest thought of New York City?
So I'll take it on its face, and I won't talk about it in terms of what it's been like for the last year, because I don't think that's fair.
Yeah, it doesn't really count.
That's not fair. I would say it's one of the most, if not the most, unique cities in the world. One where your night can take so many different turns. If you're out for the evening, or if even if you're going out for the day, you never know. If you have an adventurous spirit, you can find yourself in so many different places doing so many different activities that I don't think you can really find that level of diversity anywhere else in the world. And I I've been a few places in the world. I feel like I have a decent. It's certainly I've been all over this country, so I have a good barometer for comparison. It's the only city I know of where the bars stay open till 4, and then the post bars stay open till 7. And if you want to drink until the sun comes up, you do it legally. And I'm not just talking about like, going for drinks at somebody's home. There are places that will legally, or maybe not legally. I'm talking out of my butt here a little bit, but there were places you could go. And I just think the allure of, depending on your type of person you are, the type of personality, you could go into an evening with some friends and not know where that evening was going to take you if you didn't have a specific plan, and the places that it could potentially take you just ran a spectrum that doesn't exist in any other city. So I think it's something special. I think it eventually will come back to what it was. It's just going to take a lot longer than people would like. But it's definitely a special city. That said, never in a million years I would have to be an uber wealthy individual to ever justify living in Manhattan, because the amount of space you get and for what you pay for that space is just absurd. And then on top of that, I've lived in other parts of the country like Texas, Oklahoma, and I can see what real estate is like in other places. And you just can't justify it with any sort of sense to pay what it costs to live in New York City. So I would never ever live in New York City, but I will always have a very strong fondness for New York City and all that it has to offer.
Well, Texas, you can move into like mansions. You buy them for like $400,000.
If that,
and that'll get you a one bedroom. That'll get you a 1-bedroom apartment in New York if you're lucky. That's not even brand new.
That's just incredible. Mm-hmm. Well, for someone like myself, I don't know about you, Jack. I've never been in New York. What's the if I ever visit, what's one spot that a person who's never visited, where should they go?
Yeah, what's
the prime spot?
In terms of, that's such an open-ended question. Yeah. I don't know. It really just depends. Like, do you want to see culture? Do you want to experience an authentic neighborhood? Do you want a good steakhouse? Do you want a swanky nightclub or a bar? Or do you want to?
Yeah, best. What's your go-to bar? How about that?
Yeah, let's do the bars.
God, that honestly, that's another thing that kind of changes as you get older, because the bar scene, in terms of what's affordable and in terms of what you're looking for out of an evening, that kind of morphs. How old are you guys?
23.
I'm 24. So.
Oh shit! So for you guys, any of the bars that you might have heard of in stories like Brother Jimmy's or Sidebar, where everyone's just there and they're all single and looking to get wild and get after it. Any of those bars,
that's the goal.
That's the
those are always fun. And then you kind of, as I said, you kind of age out of those, and maybe you age into places that are a little more upscale, a little more expensive. Classy is a good word. Certainly, I enjoy a good cigar, so Club Macanudo is probably one of my more favorite places in Manhattan. It's a nice cigar lounge up on Central Park East. Certainly, any number of steakhouses are delicious that I would always recommend to people. But I think this goes back to what I was saying earlier about the uniqueness of New York City, is that I think a mid-level restaurant in New York is going to be the best restaurant in so many other cities across the country. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think you would have to actively try to have a crummy time coming to New York City. And that's without even knowing anything. The food's going to be good basically anywhere you go. The people are going to be interesting. I won't say they're always going to be nice and welcoming, but they'll definitely be interesting.
I've heard the stories.
About
people.
So if I were you guys, I would absolutely come to New York City once it's as close to back to normal as possible, and you can certainly make a interesting weekend of it.
we're definitely gonna have to take a trip out there.
Yeah, 100%.
I never been there, and
when he's talking about the steakhouse, I feel like Manny's would be like par for the course there. It'd be just a
one
steakhouse.
Star. Yeah.
Whereas Minneapolis, that's like the top place. I guarantee you. Top places here are probably
not even on the scale or the chart of
cool. Because so think about this. I always like to say the reason, like, most restaurants in New York City really aren't bad is because if you're bad, you're just not going to survive. So the places that are surviving and thriving, and again, this is pre-pandemic, if you're surviving, thriving, that's because you're good. You can afford to pay the rent that it costs to be in that location. Versus if you're not good, people aren't going to come, and then you will not be able to pay the outrageous rent.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
So
what the startup cost of a restaurant in New York City is.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta
that's an all or
front
nothing
a lot of
kind
money,
investment.
man.
Yeah.
Like that's a risking like your life. I mean,
yeah,
you can lose so much money.
Can't imagine what it is for like a month. But did you have any final questions?
Well, I kind of wanted to circle back to the kind of like KFC parties and stuff like that. I was curious and wanted to ask, did you even have any crazy parties at West Point, or did they not even allow that whatsoever? Was that a thing?
No. The party scene at West Point is essentially non-existent. I mean, there's some bars on post where you can go, and they're certainly not your typical college bars. It's really more of like just a place to meet up with some buddies and have a few drinks. So usually if you were looking for a traditional college experience, we would usually just go visit friends at other colleges to get that parties and a more traditional experience.
Yeah, I just feel like it'd just be tough. Like I feel like it's essential. I just picture it as like a military base kind of
Well, it is. It very much
disciplined. Yeah, it is.
No. It is actually like there's Army units that are stationed there.
Yeah.
It very much is a Army base. So you can imagine it's not like University of Minnesota.
No, that
just getting
that
trashed
is the crowd.
People hammered on the sidewalks after. Even this fall,
every night, unless you have like a pass to leave, like every night you have a bedtime. Somebody comes to your room every night and knocks and says, "All right, okay, cool." They open your door and make sure you're in your bed. So it's pretty intense.
There's no alternative. You're just doing it. But I mean, it's the camaraderie though of being at West Point and the tradition and the history of that place, and to go there is just incredible. College, I mean. Having that experience must have just been life changing. You don't need a party,
Right. I mean, I still got to do a lot of fun and interesting things, met great people, and I did things during college that I would not have done if I had went to some other schools, and I'll always cherish that. But I think the type of kid who will go to West Point is the type of kid who at 17, 18 can take a step back and say, okay, the next 4 years is not going to be a wild, ridiculous time similar to what my buddies might experience for their college experience. But that said, I want to set myself up for the next 40 years. And I'd rather have a good 40 years. I'll trade a good 40 years for missing out on 4 years I might have had at, Joe Blow University. And that usually makes it easier to swallow.
I mean, it doesn't matter if you didn't party there. You still got to go to KFC, party with KFC, go to some bars in New York City. That's
actually, no. That was well after I was out of the Army. Yeah.
I was just gonna say you still got to experience that eventually, and who cares?
Exactly.
4 years, whatever.
So I mean, this is just my opinion. The people who think that the 4 years of college are the best 4 years, I don't think that's even close. I think. Your best 4 years are like 25 to 29 when you got a little coin in your pocket so you can do some things, you can experience some nicer dinners, you can go out and put your credit card down and not have to worry like, oh man, I'm not gonna be able to afford 2 beers. And you have that independence away from the comforts of a college dorm room. You're doing things on your own. I think those are the most fun years, really, because also you got a little more experience under your belt. You're taking trips with your friends because you can actually afford them now. A big thing to do on the East Coast is everybody rents shore houses for the summer. So you bang down the shore on the weekends, on Friday, you cut out of work. Yeah. All those things you can't do. I mean, don't get me wrong. College 18 to 22, that's a fun, interesting time. And you're going to do things in college that you'll never do again in your life. But
yeah, exactly.
For my money, I think there are other 4-year periods throughout one's life that are equal, if not greater, amounts of fun.
No, being in college, people don't. I mean, yeah, when people think back to college, they only think about the best parts, the parties and whatnot. They forget about how shitty it is scrambling for tests, doing homework, just not having money. Like, that was probably the worst thing for college for me. I was so broke all 4 years. I donated plasma on top of working. I had classes. Like, I think sometimes people only think about the weekends.
They think about the maybe one night a week or a couple nights a month where you would have a party.
Only the best memories.
But after that, it was shitty.
I would argue I'm having more fun now.
Yeah,
this
over
sure.
You're
right, I can pay for things. I can do what I want now.
Yeah, it's great. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So,
cash rules everything around me.
Yeah, exactly. The final segment we got here for you, Cons, is what we like to call here the rapid fire. 10 questions, kind of some funny would you rathers from the internet. I think I actually got one of these from KFC. So
okay.
Perfect.
Yeah, you ready to go?
Ready. Let's do it.
All right, you're on a deserted island. There is one ship that crashes up on shore that has an alcohol of your choice on it. What is it? It's what you get for the rest of your time on the island.
Probably just great taste, less filling, Miller's. I'm not going to complicate things. Yeah, because I mean, I wine that might get uncomfortable to drink if it's too hot out. Liquor, I might get too intoxicated. So I think just a nice cold beer.
Sparrow.
Yeah.
Just hammer it on the beach every day.
Yeah.
You could do that. Yeah.
How many fourth graders could you fend off in self-defense?
Do I have any weapons or just myself?
Nope, just your hands and
your
feet.
fists.
Yeah, no weapons. But the fourth graders don't have weapons either.
That's a good question. I'd like to think I would just go down swinging, and I would, however many you guys think it would take to kill me. That's how many. One less. That's how many I could take.
So you're a military guy.
Wow.
So I don't even know. I don't even know what I'd guess.
It could be infinity, man. It could just be rounds and waves and waves.
Exist.
Yeah.
If you had to pick between Boston or New York City, which one would you rather live in?
New York City.
New York City. All right.
Yeah.
Would you rather slap a random baby or your own grandmother?
Wow, that's a disturbed question. I would
vulgar,
I would clearly not want to slap anybody. No, you know what? I think it has to be the random baby, because then just the rest of your life, they have a story to tell, all because you gave them a random smack. They get to tell, like, oh man, this guy just walked up and smacked me when I was a little guy.
Asshole just came up to me.
For a would
Central
you rather
Park.
dare.
Yeah, whereas if
Park.
it's your grandmother, like, you gotta experience the gruff you're gonna get from her every Christmas about why did you slap me that one time.
Why'd you slap me?
If I slapped my grandma, she'd slap me right back.
Yeah.
So it would be more of a fight than a baby. Baby wouldn't remember it.
Yeah.
So
not worth
accept that answer. Would you rather walk to work in high heels or drive to work in reverse?
Drive to work in reverse. I mean, I don't think walking in high heels is as terrible as it's made out to be, but depending on how far you gotta go, I'd rather still be able to drive, because especially now with cars, they got the backup camera. That's cheating. So I would do that.
Well, imagine during a non-COVID time, you're walking down the streets of Manhattan in heels in a crowded pack on the sidewalk.
Right,
you might just get trampled.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know how to do
man.
it.
Yeah.
Pretty brutal.
Would you rather never speak again or always have to say what's on your mind?
That is a very, very tough question. Never speak again or always have to say what's on my mind. Goodness gracious. I guess I kind of do that now anyway, so I'll just go with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was gonna say.
I like to think I have a fairly decent mind, so I don't think horrible things.
I think that's what I think of the East Coast, though. They just, speak their mind.
That's kind of,
Yeah, so
exactly.
That would make sense.
If you were given an all expenses paid trip to Cleveland, would you take it?
Yeah, I've never been to Cleveland, so I'll go check it out.
Oh yeah,
for sure. Okay,
yeah,
that's on your list then.
Actually, so I went to Columbus, Ohio. Obviously, Columbus and Cleveland are two different places. I went to Columbus. Obviously, the Ohio State University is there, And I thought it was going to be kind of a dumpy town, and it turned out to be an awesome town. So who knows? Maybe Cleveland could surprise me too.
We'll see.
Yeah, well, there's good parts of every city.
Yeah. I mean, we'll see.
Yeah.
But what do you think is more realistic, ghosts or aliens?
Wow, man.
Some tough thinking.
That is, yeah. I don't want to just flippantly say an answer because I want to give what I think would be a decent answer.
Yeah.
I'll say aliens. I'd say there's probably some sort of alien life form that's out there that we just don't know yet.
Yep. Somewhere in the abyss of space.
Shit abyss.
Would you rather always wear one rollerblade or have someone walk in front of you a little slower than you want to go?
Definitely one rollerblade because I could, I'm fairly well balanced, so I think I could make do with that.
Okay. Yeah, that's good. If a movie's made about your life, who's playing you?
Gosh.
Doesn't have to be someone who looks like you. This could be like a personal choice.
Yeah, I guess I'm trying to think. McConaughey's a good answer. He's very
hell yeah. Why not?
Popular right now. Why not McConaughey? Right? He's an Academy Award winner. He's a good answer, I'd say.
Yeah,
it's all a Fugazi. You know what that is?
God,
yeah,
doesn't exist. That shit or whatever. I think that was Interstellar. Was it?
No, that was Wolf of Wall Street.
Oh, okay,
Wolf of Wall Street.
Wolf of Wall Street. Those are rookie numbers. You got to bump that.
I had to go back and rewatch that one.
Yeah, that's a great movie. Stellar.
Yep. Well, Cons, we've loved having you on. Is there any final words for the viewers that you'd like to give, or?
As always, beat Navy. That's all I got.
You did it. You did it before, so
yeah. Well, so yeah.